So this video is probably going to be a long video. Is going to be the last few videos that I'll probably ever upload. After going through almost every single memory in my mind, all the stuff that I've been through that I completely ignored, forgot about, this is probably one of the most important videos because this explains more than all the other videos, and it's probably going to be a lot shorter. The other videos, I went into a lot of details of the things that I've been through. The stuff that started to wake up in my head, these details are only slightly off due to one thing in particular that I'm thinking of is when I first met L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of the church from Scientology. Right now, I'm debating whether it was 3 years old or like I pretty much figured it about 5 years old. And when I checked a few dates of when I started school, it still is telling me. Now, he supposedly went into hiding 2 years before his death, but his death would have taken place after his it just could have been about 3 years old, 3.5 years old, because I started in '86. That's why I'm saying no. It started in '86. I don't think his death was the exact time of death, but that's just me. Because I remember like shortly after starting school that he passed away, the man that I had met. So, and then even that wasn't the exact time of death. So that would make sense that it was. No, it would make sense that it was. That would make sense. You know what? Either way, it doesn't matter. I met the man. And the man knew that I was not ready to take over a church at 3 years old. Jesus Christ did not start teaching until way later in life. But what I can tell you is that the direction that the church was going was not so much a good direction. And what I can tell you is that that continued after he died. That's why I brought up in the other videos that who is the mob? The people are the mob. Watch any movie about Rome, and more than likely you will come across that. Now, before I go into anything else, I was poisoned. They used asbestos, aka also, and not aka, also, radioactive nanodust, diamond nanodust. That is a wicked combination, man. Now, the people that were a part of the church, they probably had almost no idea of this. This was somewhat a very, very well kept secret, but it was a very, that's why I'm saying it's like the shit. I just remember not sleeping. I remember the doctor that was asking me before I was even out of elementary school, and I didn't do drugs in elementary school, if I was on drugs. For a few years, my mom, even, the one who raised me, my mom who passed away on September 12th, 2020, she kept saying, Anthony, are you on drugs? I'm like, no, I'm not on drugs, Mom. I promise, I don't even like drugs. I was against drugs. I wasn't sleeping throughout most of elementary school. I was sleeping more, but I was sleeping still a lot less. Like I would lay in, like I had a bedtime. I went to bed and I would just lay there for 5 hours, 6 hours, and then go to sleep, go to school. And as I got older, it became worse and worse. And then a friend introduced me to marijuana, and I was able to sleep so well. It's like when I was younger, it wasn't as bad as per se, like I was able to get sleep. I wasn't being hit with anything too harshly, but I was being hit because there was those times that I just did not sleep. But more and more prevalent, I think the word is that when I got older, I started sleeping less and less. Like I was getting an hour of sleep, if an hour of sleep before going to a full day of school the next day. And after school, because at that point I had started to smoke pot, I was looking for a way to fall asleep. Calm my mind. My mind always felt like it was on fire. So, that's that. And that is important because, in other words, although I met L. Ron Hubbard, whether it was very, very young. Whether it was 3 or 5, it was very young. If I was born in 81, 82, I would have been 1. 83, I would have been 2. 84, I would have been 3. 85, I would have been 4. And 86 is where the understanding. Now, I started school in 86 after my birthday. That is also around about the time that I found out L. Ron Hubbard died. The man who, I met him a few different small times, like not very long but brief moments in my life. It just doesn't exactly, I don't know if it exactly sits right with me right now, and I don't have time to go back and really pinpoint, because supposedly he died in 86, January 28th. And I didn't start school until almost October, November of that year, due to some mix-ups of things. I went to school in Nokomis for kindergarten. And then I went to Waverly Elementary School. Continued on to Satram Junior High School and Satram High School afterwards. The junior high school I went to was Sagamore. And the high school I went to was South and North Satram. Long Island. The reason I'm making this video is because of the truth, whether people want to hear it or not. This is finishing my commitment to the church. The church was rotting. L. Ron Hubbard knew it. It was rotting from people who wanted to overpower the people who knew better, that they weren't ready to achieve the things that they demanded. Now, when the mob demands something, the mob starts playing games. And we'll get to this. And I hope all law enforcement is hearing the words out of the boy born with the marks of Jesus Christ and one hell of a devil. I signed contracts when I was 12 in 7th grade with the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ. I was supposed to pick and choose one of these organizations to join, but I signed contracts with all three. The stuff that I've already went into was already being set up in my life. Some of the stuff I would go through later on in life. I've made a lot of videos, and some videos I am putting false information out there, or the best information I can, mixed with some twists and turns for the people who don't deserve to listen to these videos. This video, I am being as honest as humanly possible. I have been in the middle of a mind game that has not stopped. Now, this is an important thing. Why is this important? Because after signing those contracts with the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ, I signed another contract. And I had forgotten about this contract up until Leah. Seeing Leah's face and knowing a situation that took place that was so fucked up. And I'm not mad at her. I forgive her. I think anybody should forgive her. And other people that are involved, the forgiveness should be there for these people. And real forgiveness. You see, and that was young. That was very young. But when I signed the contracts with the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ, with my blood, those were very special contracts. There was 2 doorways you could pick for each contract. The doorway that I chose was the pathway that nobody wanted, because it was a very, very hard pathway. They knew along the lines that there is a good chance I would not make it. They said that I would more than likely die, and that only one other person in all of humanity has ever done what I'm about to go through. Well, as much as I didn't even understand how real that was, and how much stuff was already being planned by some very, very fucked up people, I went ahead and signed a 4th contract. The 4th contract that I signed was with the Church of Scientology. The church knew this was after the FBI, CIA, and DOJ contracts. Shortly after. Maybe a year or so. The church was already on to, like I just said before, that there was something wrong with the church. What I didn't know about until then was that certain things that were done as punishment to the people of the church, it was not geared so vicious and violently. There were reports coming back to some of the top people in the church, secret people in the church, that certain things were decreed upon them and when those people looked into it, those decrees seemingly were never made in certain cases. Other cases, some people were experiencing permanent problems, permanent deletion. Which was not, because the decrees that were made by the people that were secret heads of the church gave, I want to say anonymity. In other words, they put the order out to stop on these people. Stop the bullying, stop the this, stop the that. And when certain of those people had very, very bad shit happen to them, it came back onto the church. Now the church knew that there was a very, very severe problem. Some of the secret heads did not even care. Others did. So, I took on a role, a commitment with the church to be excommunicated on purpose to see, because I was young, okay? Very important fact. Because I was young, the church did not kill children. Now the games began. Now, when I signed my commitment to be excommunicated, I was told that the people that were doing the excommunication, it wasn't actually an excommunication, obviously, that they would do their best to protect me. But I had to protect myself. They chose me because I could handle myself very well. And in most situations, I could think myself out of problems very well. Little did anybody realize how much poisoning I was going through, mixed with the emotions of being a teenager, mixed with the emotions of life, mixed with all these things that I was learning for the very first time here. And yet, when certain things were done, certain things they knew about, but they were finding out more and more so that there were things being done to me that were not allowed, were not permitted, that I did face death so many different times before even the age of 18, that around the time right before 9/11, I was called back down to the church. They were going to excommunicate me again, but this time for real, but really not. This time, right before 9/11, that they excommunicated me this time, was to see if their other order, which was to leave me alone, as long as I didn't talk bad about the church, to leave me alone, would be followed through. This was right before 9/11. They were planning some really, when I say they, the people who were bringing a face to the word Xenu. You see, these people were about to introduce me to the church, not so much as the face of Xenu, but as the boy who was born with the marks of Christ, that did a very, very important task for the church. The church was not accepting of this. A lot of miscommunication talk. Oh, in here, this way. That was one of the problems that was there the whole time. Was that what they had found out around about that time was that the voice of some of the heads of the church that other people could hear in situations where they asked to hear these people were being mimicked. That there was a problem with the one. The one that was introduced as Xenu. Well, let me tell you something about Xenu. I met Xenu. The face to the word. I met him right before 9/11. Now, it strikes me as odd that the church was so accepting to a person who was supposedly a war criminal. A person who not only did they want to enslave humanity by using those exact microchips, and yet, what do we face today in the year 2021? Vaccines and microchips. Now, I am not against the microchips as far as certain things that go, but the problem is the other things that can go along with it. And with that could come a certain form of mind control. And free will be no more. You hail Bill Gates. This world is so mad at Bill Gates. This world is so mad at so many different people. And you know who the ones you should be mad at? The people that are the mob that are the people. Because everybody wants to think they know it all. And the truth of the matter is that there is some shit in this life that is really hard to grasp even when you see it for yourself. The cops. The point is that time when they excommunicated me from the church, the second time. That was to try to protect me because the order that went out was also that I should not be harmed in any way or messed with in any way as long as I don't talk about the Church of Scientology. You see, the thing is I wasn't excommunicated. As much as everybody had to turn on me, I was not excommunicated. There was so much more to find out. Now, the problem is all the shit that I've been through from point A, which was right before 9/11, to point B, which is now September 26th, 2021. You know, the interesting part is that sometimes people don't need a reason. That's the interesting part. The one problem I helped the church with was figuring that out. They already knew it, but they were able to figure out more from what I experienced. The second was the mimics. The ones who mimic. They didn't want that to get out. Because if that got out, there would have been even more chaos inside the church. These people were holy in their own right and in their own ways. They believed in the truth. What did the Bible believe in? The truth. They knew how many people lied. They knew how many people twisted and distorted the truth. But they also knew, and they were also smart enough to know, that there are different versions to the truth, even when you're staring the truth at the end result in the face. That was my task. That was my commitment to that church. And from the point of 9/11, which I will get into the heroes and the not so much heroes who were still labeled heroes of 9/11 in 1 minute. You see, the mob, the people of the church, started to press the church's buttons in a way that they wanted what they did not earn. Some of the people that were some of the high-ups of the church were disgusted with this because they knew that certain things, certain people on even mass scales should not be aware of unless they even come close to the knowledge that it would take the human